Unbelievable! Helmuth hits the deck.
Ace-9's a big hand for me, and 9's a huge card.
Well, it seems as Ted Forrest is trying to ward off all those aces and 9s. He's put his sunglasses back on. Maybe that'll do the trick.
So Ferguson already with one match in hand in the best of 3 and leading here in match 2 on King 7. He raises to 60,000.
Now this is Chris Ferguson being aggressive here. He said, I won the first match being lucky. Now I'm going to get aggressive. And I'm going to start betting instead of calling.
Forrest calls on suited ace-deuce. The flop brings 5-4 ace, a pair of aces for Ted Forrest.
And an inside straight draw. He'd make a straight with a 3. Looks like Chris, who raised before the flop, is going to make the right move here. At the wrong time, he's going to bet again.
He bet 75,000. Forrest calls.
Ted Forrest is just calling because he's afraid that Chris Ferguson might have an ace with a better kicker.
Turn is a 10 of hearts, and now Ferguson is drawing dead.
Ted checks again. Chris realizes at this point something's going on in this hand, and he checks back.
River's a king of hearts.
Bad card for Chris Ferguson, makes him a pair of kings.
Ted bets out 100,000.
And we've seen in this match before that Chris Ferguson does not want to let Ted Forrest get away with anything. I'm going to say it again. If this was another player, I don't think Chris Ferguson would be thinking about calling. Ted Forrest has not tried to bluff at all on the river, but Chris keeps imagining that he's going to, and there he goes. He calls.
He calls and loses the hand. Ted Forrest on a non-bluff takes down the pot.
Chris Ferguson says, here you go, buddy. I'm still calling you with anything. I made a pair of kings, and I called.
And Ted Forrest exhales a sigh of relief in a must-win situation, already trailing the best of 3, 1-zip. Although the 2005 heads-up champion Phil Hellmuth lost in the first round this year, he did not leave empty-handed. At the GQ Pairings party presented by 9, he received a Torno Gotham Sonoma timepiece for his win last year. Either Chris Ferguson or Ted Forrest will be wearing a Torno timepiece this year.
Actually, we're not sure that Chris or Ted are going to get the watch. We gave it to Phil in hopes that he'd retire.
Blinds at 10 and 20,000. Match 2 in this best of 3, and Ted Forrest on Queen 5 calls the 10,000.
And Chris Ferguson's going to let it go. For once, these players' actions are matching the hands they have.
Flop is King Queen 10. Forrest flops 2 queens.
And Chris Ferguson has an open-end straight. He checks.
Forrest bets 25,000.
And I suspect Chris is going to call here with his open-end straight.
Chris Ferguson pushes
Check raise to 105,000.
This is a different kind of play from Chris Ferguson. He's been calling his money off to Ted Forrest when Ted Forrest has the better hands. Here he's being aggressive.
And he got a quick call from Ted Forrest.
Chris Ferguson's raised with an open-end straight draw. And this will confuse Ted Forrest if he makes it.
The turn pairs kings on the board.
Let's see if Chris takes another shot at it. Yes, a big one. 200,000. And immediately Ted Forrest calls. It just looks like Ted Forrest has Chris Ferguson's number. He seems confident his queens with no kicker are the best hand. He's right.
River's a 7 of diamonds.
Now, if Chris Ferguson were going for a flush, he would have made it, but he checks. He's given up. No reason for Ted Forrest to bet here. He hopes his queens are the best hand.
Check, check. His queens are the best hand. Ted Forrest takes down a sizable pot and takes a 4-1 chip lead here in match number 2. If Ted Forrest seems unfazed by his 1-0 deficit in the championship, it's tough to blame him. In recent poker experiences, he's seen far worse.
Well, the last poker I actually played was heads up against Andy Beal. We were playing 50 and 100,000 Hold'em. The last 7 hours, I actually lost 10.8 million straight. That was one reason why it was important for me psychologically to have a good showing here. I was not quite sure how that would affect me. I kind of thought it would sneak up on me and kind of get to me a little bit more than it was initially, and it did kind of sneak up on me. So I really, really wanted to have a strong showing here to get my confidence back.
All right, first question, who is Andy Beal?
Andy Beal is a pool cabana boy at Caesar's Palace who likes to play for high stakes. Andy Beal is a very talented amateur who likes to play the best players in the world, and he has been here to Vegas on several occasions and challenged the best players. He says he's retired now.
Chris Ferguson moving all in here on Jack 7.
Chris Ferguson is not retired. And Ted Forrest immediately calls with an ace-4 offsuit.
I don't have a good hand, but I got the best hand.
You got the best hand. I'm glad to hear that.
If Ted Forrest wins this, he ties up the final at 1 match apiece.
It's amazing to me that Ted Forrest knew with ace-4 that he had the best hand.
Let me get lucky one time.
He doesn't have to get lucky. He just has to not get unlucky and have Chris Ferguson catch a jack or a 7.
Flop is 5 queen 6.
So far, so good for Ted Forrest. No diamonds for either player. Just has to avoid jacks and 7s.
Neither a jack nor a 7 on the turn, a 2 of hearts.
Last chance for Chris Ferguson. Otherwise, this finals is all tied up.
I'd like to play a third one.
Looks like you're going to.
And you will play a third one. The championship final is tied at 1 match apiece with the deciding match to come. Ted Forrest evens the score with Chris Ferguson. Coming up, they'll play it out one last time, the third and decisive final match to determine the 2006 National Heads Up Poker Champion. We'll crown the new Heads Up King when we return to Caesar's Palace right after this.
Ted, congratulations. You are right back in this match. You look very relieved.
It feels good. I'm ready to play a third one. Got 5 2/3 matches under my belt, a third of a match to go.
Did you do anything differently in that match?
No, I just tried to play good poker.
In your mind, do you feel like you already should have won this title?
Well, it is what it is. We're all even up, and we're got one more match to play.
Good luck in match 3. Thank you, Ted.
Well, we're even 1 apiece, and Gabe, it seemed in the first match, Chris Ferguson was able to survive some misreads and win, but he didn't get so lucky here in match 2.
Well, Ted Forrest is reading Chris Ferguson very well, and Chris Ferguson is not reading Ted Forrest. And that's not a good recipe for victory in No Limit Hold'em.
The third and final match between Chris Ferguson and Ted Forrest. The winner takes the title and a $500,000 prize.
Let me say this again because we're kind of like knocking Chris Ferguson a little bit here. Last year was the same thing. He didn't play well in the beginning of the match against Phil Hellmuth, but he came around and played great at the end, even though he lost. Let's see if he does it again this year.
He raises on suited connectors. Forrest on King 9 offsuit will call.
I like this play. I like raising with the 7-8 of diamonds.
Flop is Jack 9 tray. Ferguson flops a straight draw. Forrest flops 2 9s.
Not much of a straight draw. It's what we call the ignorant